Nonetheless, as we see our players sitting down, getting ready to go. Francesco on the left, Nicolas on the right.
Yeah, these players, of course, they're gonna be watching out for what each other's team has right here, because there's quite a bit that we can talk about in just a minute, as the teams themselves seem to be quite interesting. The one thing I do want to mention is Grimmsnarl. It's a Pokemon that we have seen quite a bit in the previous game as well, and just being able with that screen setup, very nice. You have recently we've had Klefki as well in Malmo.
Yes.
But like Grimmsnarl also being one of those Pokemon that can do just the setup of the light screen and the reflect with that beautiful prankster ability.
It's such a good Pokemon. It's such a consistent Pokemon, and certainly the more powerful a format gets, the more gooder a Grimmsnarl becomes, because you know
the gooder it gets.
The gooder it gets.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, because you know those light screens and reflects, they're taking a proportion of the damage away from any incoming moves, and the more powerful those moves are, the more it's actually reducing the damage coming in.
Exactly. Yeah, just being able to being put next to Pokemon that really doesn't want to get hurt all that much, or like with potential setup as we have seen earlier, the Iron Hands. Iron Hands behind screens I would not like to deal with, especially, but there's other Pokemon as well. As we have here the results of these players, what they have achieved in 2023, the Liverpool Regional Top 4, the 2015 Italy National Champion, as you mentioned, in World's Top 8 in 2011, and again in 2011 the Italy National Champion, trying to get that title again.
I always love seeing players that have got results over multiple different years from quite a while ago. It just shows you that you can have a couple of years off here and there, but you can still stay involved in the game. You can still come back and you can be relevant, especially coming top 4 at the Liverpool Regional Championships. Nicolas, a little bit more of a recent achievement to say the least, here in the Bochum Regional Championships, getting top 32, making day 2 there as well, and that's really relevant because that wasn't that long ago.
No,
that means that Nicolas is on form right now, and definitely a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter how many accolades you have, because if you're just looking at the years recently, they both have one in 2023. But I talked about this with Lee as well. These new players that have been coming in and just showcasing how powerful they are, bringing the new stuff and reinventing really the wheel of Pokemon, and just, well, they're just impressive. Every time it's someone, when I have to play against someone and they tell me they're new, I'm absolutely scared.
Well, this is it, because there's so many resources. Players can get up to a level really nice and quickly now, but then bring their own spin on it, not burdened by all of the things that you think, okay, that's not the strongest Pokemon in a format like 3 years ago, but actually now it's relevant. You're not burdened by all of those things.
And as we have the teams here, we have the Fluttermane, Amoonguss, Golden Go, Iron Bundle, Grimmsnarl, and the Iron Hands. The first thing I want to note is the Iron Bundle not having Isuint, just Encore. And Encore, I feel, has been a very nice addition to the recent Iron Bundles, just being able to make sure that your opponent locks himself in a wrong move and just trapping him, really.
Right, it stops Fake Out coming into play, or at least discourages it. And I really like it next to this nasty block Golden Go, because it's able to get some boosts up. Iron Bundle is going to be able to put Encore pressure onto the field, and certainly in combination with something like that Fluttermane as well, putting off a lot of damage with the Choice Specs, or even the Amoonguss just threatening Spores. You can do a lot of work by making your opponent play a little bit more defensively and then punishing it with Encore.
Absolutely, and as we said, the Grimmsnarl with the screens, just being able to support the Golden Go and the Iron Hands, both decently bulky Pokemon and good typings as well, to try and deal with that as well as possible. As on the other end, on Nicolas' side, we have the Fluttermane with the Choice Specs, Amoonguss, Arcanine, Palafin, Tinglu, and Iron Hands. So somewhat a bit more the balance that we are used to right now. This time in Iron Hands with the Terra Grass and the Assault, it's a bit more bulky, because you want to have those switches possibilities, for especially for that Palafin.
Right, and this is a bit of a throwback to early regulation Set C. This is a very common Pokemon around the time of EUIC, around the time of the Utrecht special event as well. These are the sort of teams that we saw, and they're strong for a reason. You know, players have adjusted slightly, bringing different Pokemon in the metagame with some more offensive threats, like the Sun team that Joseph Ugarte won Hartford with, and you know, some other different compositions. But there's a reason that this team did so well in early regulation Set C. So best not to count it out just yet.
Yeah, exactly. You can always innovate, but sometimes it just works and it keeps working, and you still have to respect it, even no matter how used it is. It's still something where the way you play it makes a difference.
It does indeed. And while you're here watching along with us, do show your support for these players. Francesco on your left, Nicolas on the right. Who are you supporting? Who's your favorite? Have you spent some time in the community with either of these players? Are you watching along, cheering for them at home?
Exactly, as we always want to include as many players as we can, so hopefully you are enjoying the stream from home as well, as this is gonna be an amazing match to be able, a spectacle really to behold, because both a bit of slower teams with like the Grimmsnarl setting up screens and just setting up, while on the other hand you have a lot of switching that's gonna probably happen as well.
And those games are always really difficult to navigate, especially when you're playing against high-level opponents, because there's always a way back in.
Yeah.
You always maybe you make a little bit of a mistake, maybe you take a little bit more damage than you were expecting, but actually you've got the tools, especially with that Amoonguss, to heal that off. Maybe you can bring in the fake out for Nicolas Iron Hands, and that's going to give a little bit of space. And of course that Palafin as well, I'm really excited to see personally, because we'll see how it matches up against kind of the new school of good stuff teams.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's definitely going to be interesting, because a lot of Flutter Mane have been showcasing now with booster energy, but like Choice Specs has been a big choice for a lot of people, because you have that Specs Terra Fairy Dazzling Gleam that can absolutely chip anything on the opposing field right now, which is just amazingly strong to say the least.
It is, and with that Ting Lu on the field, it's going to be able to stop that damage coming in, but of course it is weak to that Dazzling Gleam. You definitely don't want to be sitting too long in front of a Choice Specs Flutter Mane with your Ting Lu. As we get into game one, Ting Lu straight out of the field, and it's Grimmsnarl Iron Hands for Francesco, and Palafin taking the lead with that Ting Lu for Nicolas.
Yeah, Grimmsnarl Iron Hands quite good to see, because you have the screens possibility and of course the Swords Dance with the Iron Hands. Because Wild Charge, Drain Punch, it covers quite a lot. It covers exactly these two Pokemon on the field as well. You do have the option to go for an early Terra with the Ting Lu going for that Terra Poison, so Drain Punch not that effectively, but that Grimmsnarl just being able to turn really anything with just putting up screens, because a Reflect right now, the Iron Hands would not mind it right now.
Not at all. And this is a little bit of a contrast to Ting Lu, where it has to be on the field for its Vessels of Ruin ability to be dropping special attack. But in contrast, you can just get a light screen up with Grimmsnarl. That can leave the field. So it gives you a little bit more flexibility here as the Palafin leaves the field, going back to Nicolas, and it's going to be Iron Hands joining the field. We get one of the screens up. I'm afraid I don't know which one that is. It was Reflect coming up, and the Sword Stance coming out from the Iron Hands. Ting Lu going to do pretty respectable damage, honestly, given the Reflect onto that Iron Hands, but it's still looking pretty healthy.
Yeah, especially when now we have seen Ting Lu, as we have seen the Iron Hands come in as well. That Reflect is definitely going to be its money's worth right now, because Grimmsnarl also has the possibility to go for that Parting Shot. It does not work on the Ting Lu, but it does work on the Iron Hands possibility. The Iron Hands itself having on Fake Out, so being able to at least stall out this Grimmsnarl for one turn, but yeah, the Reflect is still going to stay there for a few more turns, so you have to find a way to chip this opposing Ting Lu as the Ting Lu switches out to the Super Dolphin, as we have it, the Palafin 0-2 hero. There it is.
Absolutely coming in, putting a lot of pressure on the field as Fake Out goes into that Iron Hands. A nice defensive play there by Nicolas, but Francesco going on the offensive, getting pretty good damage onto the Iron Hands with that Spirit Break coming out from the Grimmsnarl. And now with the Reflect up on the field, I'm not sure whether or not Palafin, even in its hero form, is going to be enough to knock out this Iron Hands on Francesco's side.
Yeah, Palafin is a very strong Pokemon, but Reflect, that is just, yeah, it just shields you right now from this hero to just being safe for a bit. But you do have the Palafin with haste. You can go make sure that this Iron Hands does not keep its +2 attack right now as well. But if you do, you still can, well, get hit by a big Wild Charge as well.
Right, and that's the balance that you've got to play, and certainly why people have come away from playing Haze on Palafin, because, you know, when you go for the Haze, that means that you're not doing something else that's useful in that turn. We see a defensive Terra coming out from Nicolas' side of the field. The Palafin going for that Terra Grass, maybe trying to call Francesco going for a Wild Charge in this turn.
Yeah, as we do have the haste coming out, meaning this Palafin not wanting to take any sort of damage. Wild Charge, of course, not doing much, but just a Drain Punch into the Iron Hands, trying to whittle that down just bit by bit. Meaning, if this Grimmsnarl went for an attack as well, this might be the end for the Iron Hands. Alex goes.
It's a knockout.
Down.
It is going back to Nicolas, not going to be coming out any longer this game. And a really nice read there from Francesco, not needing any of the boosts to be able to knock out that Iron Hands. And I really like the way that Francesco's targeting here, because that Palafin with the Reflect up is not as much of a threat. So Francesco's looking at what's on Nicolas' side of the field. It's like, hey, that Iron Hands can't protect, and I can get a potential knockout here, whether or not I have the boosts. So let's give my opponent a little bit less to work with.
Yeah, exactly. This is exactly as you said, just removing some Pokemon and no more fake out pressure, as we have the Detect on the Iron Hands on Francesco's side.
And it's going to be a Light Screen coming out from this Grimmsnarl, so no damage on the Iron Hands, a little bit of damage reduction coming out, and it's going to be Dazzling Gleam, I believe, the move of choice coming out from this Fluttermane, doing more than 50% to that Grimmsnarl, even with the Light Screen. Yeah. Wave Crash following up, enough to pick up the KO. It's 2 KOs, or 1 KO apiece now. Both trainers really taking their opportunities as best they can.
Yeah, meaning now Francesco gets to switch something else in. We already know that Nicolas, his Fluttermane, is now locked into that Dazzling Gleam, thanks to that Choice Specs, of course, as the Fluttermane on the Francesco side is also coming out, meaning it can go for potential Shadow Ball, can go for a potential Moonblast. Well, it can go for anything, really. You still have the option of choice here, but as soon as he clicks a move, that Fluttermane, as long as it's on the field, it will be clicking that same move.
Yeah, I mean, and now the question is whether or not the Palafin, without a Terra Water on Nicolas' side of the field, is able to knock out that Fluttermane in one.
It's actually a question.
It really depends on the training of both of these Pokemon. You can see Fluttermane's getting knocked out in one. You can see them living with like 30 or 40% health. It really comes down to the decisions that these trainers have made coming in, but it makes a big impact, because if that Fluttermane on Francesco's side of the field gets an attack off, it's going to be doing lots and lots of damage.
Yeah, and we have the switch from the Fluttermane into the Tinglu, lowering any sort of special attack that the Fluttermane might be throwing out. It is still going to be a strong attack, especially with this Terra now activating onto this Fluttermane, going for that Terra Fairy, very strong as well with the Choice Specs, meaning this whatever Fairy move it might go for might deal a lot of damage.
It will, and we'll have to see if that's a Moonblast targeting down that Tinglu on the switch in. And it is, it's doing, it's a one-hit knockout.
Critical hit as well. Wow, that is the ultimate power. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, and also no Jet Punch coming out from the Palafin, instead a Wave Crash coming there. That definitely will be enough to pick up the knockout on the Fluttermane. No Terra required whatsoever for a power boost. So a knockout apiece. I think Nicolas probably expecting that Tinglu to be able to take that hit on the switch in, and then be able to remove the Fluttermane and use Tinglu against the Iron Hands in the end game. But Francesco getting the better end of that stick.
Yes, exactly. Iron Bundle now being able to come in here with the Dream Punch chip as well onto the Palafin. Palafin looking quite low, not really being able to damage either of these opposing Pokemon. But the Fluttermane is able to hit both the Iron Hands and the Iron Bundle quite hard with a Dazzling Gleam, let's see.
Certainly could be, and Iron Bundle is definitely not going to be appreciating that, nor is the Iron Hands at all. There's no Pokemon in the back. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's one Pokemon still in the back for Francesco, which hasn't been yet revealed. And so if that's good against the Fluttermane, that could be a good position to be in. Nicolas doesn't have any Pokemon. These are the last two. So the choice of what you lock into with that Choice Specs Fluttermane is going to make a big impact.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Grimmsnarl did go down, as did the Fluttermane.
Yes, absolutely.
But that's completely fine, because now with this Iron Bundle, it's faster. It's being able to deal still damage. Freeze Dry still super effective onto this Palafin, as the Palafin goes for a Protect here, trying not to get hit by anything that this Iron Bundle might go for, as the Detect on the Iron Hands, not wanting to deal with anything that Fluttermane might be going for, as we do have the Freeze Dry going into that Palafin slot, but being protected as now a Forza Lunara, which is the Moonblast, if I recall correctly,
yes.
Into the Iron Hands, not affecting it either. So
I think that this is actually something that's quite important with the early game and how that transitions to the end game, where those screens are putting in a lot of work. When I was talking a minute ago about the Palafin being able to knock out the Fluttermane with a Jet Punch, well, it's definitely not going to be able to with Reflect in play, and equally with Light Screen in play. You definitely need to get that damage in with the Moonblast to have any hope of knocking out this Iron Hands.
Ooh, we have the Jet Punch not wanting to get Encored, as another crit with the Hydro Pump. Now Moonblast going into the Iron Hands. Is it enough? It is enough as well. Through the Light Screen, through a bulky Pokemon that is Iron Hands as well.
Yeah, that knockout is crucial here, because any more damage on that Fluttermane, it would have been knocked out. But now the question is whether this Palafin has enough gas in the tank to be able to knock out this Iron Bundle. It's going to be really tough and an uphill battle as Freeze Dry knocks out the Fluttermane. It's a Wave Crash from the Palafin into that Iron Bundle. It does less than 50%.
Yeah, unfortunately, not doing that much damage. But thanks to Iron Bundles, it's water typing, it's decent defense, and of course, patterned by Grimmsnarls, of course, Reflect as well.
Definitely, yeah, that makes a big difference in this end game as well, especially the Light Clay being able to increase the duration that those screens are on the field. And actually, they could have worn out by now, and that could have been the item choice there on the Grimmsnarl is making a difference as Iron Bundle picks up the last KO. It will be Francesco Pardini taking game one of round 3.
It was a good prediction by Francesco to decide not to encore the Palafin and just shift its attention to that Fluttermane, because of course Fluttermane was able, with a Choice Specs Moonblast, was probably able to kill, as we saw, the Iron Hands, and can deal a lot of damage as well to the Iron Bundle, possibly killing it as well, even through the Light Screen. Yeah,
and you know, Encore is less strong against Pokemon that have priority moves. You know, you can protect, but then you're kind of forced into using that priority move the next turn in that Jet Punch, in this case, with that Palafin. So, kind of a situation where maybe you prefer to have Icy Wind, but equally when the Iron Bundle's next to an Iron Hands, and the Pokemon on the opposite side of the field are so fast, you're kind of happy with either move in that situation.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of Icy Winds. You have to for that Iron Hands to start being the fastest thing on the field. But well done by Francesco. Just showcasing that Grimmsnarl plus the Iron Hands is such a frightening thing to have. And Iron Bundle just a good pick overall for that Palafin, definitely as well. And also being fast on a Fluttermane. Now we know that the Hydro Pump did about 70%, but that was with a critical hit, I just remembered. So that only doing about 50. So if that wasn't a crit, that could have potentially, he needed to possibly hit 2.
Yeah, I mean, it's a close call to be making, and certainly Francesco's going to be thinking about that, especially after, you know, the Moonblast coming in and hitting that Tinglu and getting the knockout was a big turn there for Francesco. But equally, it wasn't necessarily game-winning if Nicolas got the Tinglu in, took a lot of damage, and then didn't get the KO, because it's going to be under threat the next turn. That Fluttermane was still kind of...
it was still on the field.
It was still on the field. It got knocked out by Wave Crash afterwards. but there's still an iron bundle that would have been able to knock out the Ting Lu and done a lot of damage to the Palafin. So it just changes the shape of the end game.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, what you're saying is completely right. Because, even if it wouldn't have killed the Ting Lu still being the slowest thing on the field, meaning the Iron Hands was still faster than that. So no Fluttermane to kill the Iron Hands. So yeah, a whole different other situation, as we have a switch up from the early leads. We have the Fluttermane and the Amoonguss on Francesco's side, and on Nicolas' side we have the Palafin and the Iron Hands, sticking it with the Super Dolphin.
Super Dolphin, indeed. One of the best naming schemes out there, certainly for the French translation. And we see the Terra Grass on the Iron Hands on Nicolas' side of the field, that's as well as the Palafin. So both have the option to be able to avoid any spores and redirection coming out from Amoonguss on Francesco's side of the field, but that Amoonguss is looking very good. If it targets into the right slot, it's going to be able to put a lot of work in, and certainly there's not too many Pokemon in the back for Nicolas to be able to switch that Palafin into that appreciate a spore into that slot. So some decisions to be made by both trainers here. The Amoonguss looks great, but Nicolas can certainly do something about it.
Exactly. We have the switch from the Fluttermane into the Goldugo, not wanting to take anything this Palafin might go for, because we have seen the turn 1 Terra with the Palafin going for that Jet Punch to try still get the kill, but this time around it is the Iron Hands with the Terra Grass, just trying to make sure that it will not be put to sleep or redirected by this Amoonguss whatsoever, and the Palafin just choosing to protect the Super Dauphin.
Really like that play coming out from Nicolas, you know, making sure that both slots were safe from any sort of spores going on, allowing the Wild Charge to go off into that Golden Go and doing nearly 50% damage. That's quite a lot. Even though Francesco's going to recover a little bit with those leftovers, that Golden Go's not in the strongest of positions here.
Yeah, it's rough to see, because if the Palafin stays in, for example, and attacks the Goldugo as well, when two Pokemon go into that Goldugo will probably go down.
Right.
Now, the Amoonguss does have the possibility to go for Polypuff, right?
Yeah.
So if the next Wild Charge isn't able to kill the Goldugo, it just chips down the Iron Hands a bit more. Goldugo just being able to go, for example, for a nasty block, and then suddenly that's a very scary Goldugo onto the field.
It really is, and yeah, it's going to be that Palafin getting the switch out there, so maybe a Spore into that slot could be really nice for Francesco. We'll have to see what he's locked in as Ting Lu joins the field. Slows down that Golden Go a little bit, but the Golden Go is going to say, like, nope, I'm going to do a little bit more damage this turn, or in the next couple of turns. Wild Charge not picking up the KO onto that Golden Go, and it's exactly like you called it, Simon. The Pollen Puff coming out into that Golden Go, healing it right the way up with that leftovers. It's going to stay on the field a little bit longer, but now looking very threatening.
Yeah, exactly. You have the +1, and if you're +1, your opponent might be a bit locking into that, trying to kill that. But when you do, the Goldugo can just go for Protect, while the Amoonguss can go for a Spore into that Ting Lu slot. Seemingly, Nicolas doesn't have really a good Spore switch in, except for the Iron Hands right now. So it is going to be quite interesting to see.
Yeah, it depends on what Pokemon are in the back. I mean, it's quite difficult to be bringing the Arcanine maybe to this matchup where you know, it's doing quite a bit until the Golden Go goes for its Terra Water, and maybe the Fluttermane's putting a little bit more pressure on, and that's the only Pokemon that's carrying a safety goggle. So whether or not it's in the back, we'll have to wait and see.
Okay, and we have the Volt Switch from the Iron Hands, while the Golden Go just protects. So Volt Switch into the Amoonguss, just a bit of that little damage. Always nice to have an Amoonguss. That might be important in the later game. You never know.
Certainly could be.
As the Palafin is back at it again. Hero form. Here he is, gonna kind of be able to deal a lot of damage. As the Ruination actually coming out onto the Amoonguss, a very good move, always taking half of your HP as the Spore comes out into that Palafin.
What a prediction there. Francesco seeing that the Iron Hands maybe not feeling great about its position, especially since it's lost the electric type, it makes it weaker to make it rain. And that's not necessarily a position that you want it to be in, especially when you're taking all of that recoil damage from the Wild Charge. And so Francesco calling that perfectly, getting the Spore into the Super Dauphin.
Super Dauphin.
On the switch in. puts Francesco so far in the driving seat, because that Ting Lu with the Ruination is going to do a lot of damage to Amoonguss, but it can't knock anything out.
No, absolutely.
And I wouldn't be surprised to see this Amoonguss be able to survive something like a Stomping Tantrum here.
Yeah, Goldugo now at the +2 looking really nice. The Ting Lu still kind of restricting it, but still gonna take quite a bit of damage since it doesn't have leftovers, it doesn't have Assault Vest. As the Rage Powder comes out, meaning this Ting Lu, whatever it does, will be redirected to this Amoonguss as well.
Yeah, Palafin staying asleep this turn, and we see another nasty plot.
He's plotting.
He's plotting something, and we're going to find out, I think, next turn there. Heavy Slam going into Amoonguss, not picking up the KO. A little bit more leftovers recovery from that Golden Go. But, yeah, the Ting Lu's dropping the power of this Golden Go right now. But Golden Go is just like, nah. Yeah. No, I'm gonna make sure I'm the threat that I deserve to be right now.
Oh, the Golden Go going fast, and then Palafin Shadow Ball coming out, not KOing it, but lowering the special defense. That it survived it. That Ting Lu doing its job there as the hero unfortunately decided to still take a nap.
And the Heavy Slam is enough to pick up the Amoonguss from relatively low health. No surprises there. But now Francesco gets a little bit of positive momentum here. The Amoonguss has really done its job. It's got the Spore onto the Palafin on the switch in. It's been able to redirect those moves for Ting Lu, get that Golden Go really set up, and now I think it's time to make it rain.
It do be time. I think two ghost friends next to each other, the two most used ghost Pokemon, Goldugo and Fluttermane, next to each other right now, can deal a lot of damage. As we have seen, the Goldugo is faster than Palafin, so Palafin can't even haze before the Goldugo as well.
Right.
And like, Make It Rain plus Dazzling Gleam is guaranteeing you a KO onto probably both of these Pokemon, because the Goldugo being a +4 right now, doing gonna do quite a bit of damage.
Right, and you've just got the ability to hit into both targets. Both Francesco's Pokemon have spread damage, so Nicolas has a lot to think about, because it doesn't matter what slot you switch in this situation. If Nicolas wants to switch, there's going to be a lot of damage dished out onto whatever Pokemon switches in.
Yeah.
If it's that Arcanine in the back now, I think it would probably be a really good time for it to enter the field while that Ting Lu's still there with its Vessels of Ruin ability. But that Ting Lu's not going to be long for this match, and it's going to be it's under so much pressure.
Okay, we did wake up. Oh, ooh, wow, the Jet Punch coming out, not KOing it. Dazzling Gleam doing quite a bit of damage to the Ting Lu, but KOing the Palafin in return, meaning this Make It Rain can be single target as it is. Make It Rain coming out. Is it enough? It is enough for the Ting Lu, meaning only one Pokemon left on Nicolas's side. This Goldugo has been putting in the work by making it rain.
Absolutely. Iron Hands, and something that we haven't actually seen yet from Nicolas' side of the field coming into the fore. And while that Iron Hands does have the ability to fake out, both of the Pokemon on Francesco's side of the field, they're ghost type.
Yeah, this is not amazing, but we do have a Fluttermane in the back. Now this Fluttermane might be faster than Francesco's Fluttermane, of course. They're both specs. A Shadow Ball can do a lot of damage to the Goldugo. The issue being mainly the Goldugo can still have that Terra, so sometimes it's good to keep that Terra. And your Iron Hands being Terra Grass, no longer resisting the Make It Rain either, so it's going to do a bit more now as well.
And there's a lot to work out here, because if you don't knock out, if you go for your Terra, it's Terra Water on the Golden Go. If you go for that Terra, you're susceptible to a Wild Charge that we saw doing lots and lots of damage previously. I think that's probably why that Golden Go is going for the Protect, chipping down that Iron Hands a little bit further. A nice Shadow Ball coming in here from Nicolas, targeting down that Fluttermane that cannot protect itself, and just making sure that threat's gone from the field.
Yeah, absolutely. Well played there, as we have the Wild Charge from the Iron Hands into that Goldugo. Just trying to make sure if it went for the Terra, it would have dealt a lot of damage, or possibly even a KO. Now, you do have the Goldugo at +3, I believe. The Iron Bundle coming. Iron Bundle is faster. We have seen how much Hydro Pump did with a critical hit earlier.
Right.
This might be quite important, like what the role is going to be here if the Iron Bundle decide to put a little bit more oomph in this Hydro Pump right now.
Well, it could go for the Hydro Pump, certainly, but I'm looking at the Freeze Dry onto the Iron Hands that's now a Grass type, because in combination with that Free plus Make It Rain, it's probably going to be enough to take the knockout here, even though that Iron Hands is carrying that Assault Vest. We'll have to see, but yeah, I definitely would be targeting that, because a Make It Rain is definitely going to knock out the Fluttermane.
Make It Rain will definitely deal with Fluttermane. Gold does make Fluttermane leave, as we do have the Terra activation from Francesco's side, keeping this until the last possible moment with this Golden Now with the Terra Water, we already know that this Golden is quite fast. It was faster than the Palafin, meaning this Iron Hands has to try to survive this if it wants to wild charge it. We do have the Freeze Dry, as you mentioned, onto the Iron Hands. Iron Hands still hanging on. And the Shadow Ball coming in from the Fluttermane with the Choice Specs. Is this enough? Oh, no. Golden taking this quite well. And the Mickey Ring coming out. And a double KO.
What a great turn. Golden doing so well, giving Francesco the win in round 3 and going 3-0 in his home country.
Exactly. A Italian national champion might be back.
Certainly could be. I mean, look at that game too. Golden getting 2 double knockouts. I mean, nasty plotting twice, it's not surprising to see. When you see, you can see it coming from a mile away, but how many games do you get, Simon, where you're able to see 2 Make It Rains and 2 double knockouts?
Exactly. And just well adapted by Francesco. First game going with that like Reflect and the light screen with the Grimmsnarl. And second game just saying, you know what, no. My Golden is fine enough. Like, I can Pollen Puff it, I can heal it, I can Nasty Plot. This is my Golden Ghost time. And going it went.
It really, really did. And, it's nice to see Golden being used in Regulation Set C. I mean, we saw it on almost every team in Regulation Set A. Certainly more consistently in Regulation Set B, but just like Dondozo, it's kind of fallen out of the top tables. It's nice to see it doing so well, because
it's an old friend coming back like, hey, it's been a while.
How are you doing?
How are you doing? Make it rain.
But it's such a strong Pokemon, and just like Dondozo, you have to be able to respect it. And like, Pokemon like Sizzle that we were talking about from the Taiwan Nationals, anything that can knock out one of the most used Pokemon in one has got to be relevant.
Exactly. That's a good point. And especially Golden we have seen it a lot with that Terra Water. And Leftovers just proving to be enough recovery, because Golden does have the option of, for example, recover itself. But just having a Amoonguss next to it, that's free healthcare. It's amazing to see just Golden still putting in that amount of work, even though, like, in Season 1, we really adapted to Golden meta. Like, a lot of people were like, okay, no, Golden it has to stop. And then Season 2 coming, you still see Golden from time to time. Like, it's Fluttermane, Golden. Season 3, Fluttermane all around. But Golden being there, it's just like, I'll get you. I'll be there.
It's ready, waiting in the wings, ready for its opportunity to shine, to sparkle, to twinkle.
Yeah, exactly. He was nasty plotting.
It was nasty plotting.
It was nasty plotting in the corner.
You can see why that's so strong, right?
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah, it's amazing, because we have seen other Golden Ghosts not even running Shadow Ball, but rather Thunderbolt, because of all the Terra Water as well.
Yes.
Which is just amazing to see the development that Golden has been going through. But this kind of team with the Golden with the screens possibility, with the Amoonguss redirection, Golden is back, baby, and better than ever.
We've got to talk about that team composition as well, because you kind of look at the Golden with the Grimmsnarl and you think, okay, right, the idea here is you set up the screens, the Golden goes feeling pretty good about itself.
Yeah.
It can set up those nasty plots, it can make it rain, it can do lots of damage and really have a good time.
Yeah.
But what we saw in that match was Francesco using the Grimmsnarl with all of the other Pokemon, but not Golden to win game 1, but then coming out with Golden and no Grimmsnarl, and just seeing the flexibility of both the team, but also the way that you pilot it. damage reduction from Grimmsnarl, or, you know, a little bit of health recovery from Amoonguss.
Exactly. It's a well way to adapt because, if I recall correctly, Nicolas also led with the Iron Hands plus the Flutter Mane.
Yeah.
Meaning Fake Out plus Moonblast would have KO'd that. I forgot already. The Grimmsnarl.
Oh, the Grimmsnarl, yeah. No, it was the Palafin, though, leading out
it was
both
the
games
Palafin.
there.
Never mind.
Trying to get from 0 to hero as quickly as possible.
Yeah, you can still Terra Water, can do a lot of damage, man. No, but that's exactly what Terra Grass. Whoops. Just realized it's just a good adaptation because screens very nice to have. Nasty plotting also very nice, and it's especially in the back, keeping that Iron Bundle plus that Flutter Mane in the back, just being able to to have some fast options to deal with whatever your opponent might still be having, or like just chip down quite a bit as well, because Choice Specs Flutter Mane is scary as hell.
It really is, and chipping down is, I think, really the key to that game too, where that Iron Hands with the Assault Vest was so difficult to knock out, especially like you've got a situation where it goes Terra Grass, and then the Flutter Mane's not doing so much to it, so you need to chip it down for the Iron Bundle.
Yeah.
The Iron Bundle's not carrying any items that kind of boost its special attack, and so, you know, it needs a little bit of assistance to chip down that Iron Hands into a place where it can knock it out.
Yeah, it just needs a little bit of that help there. As we are now going back to the winner's interview, and I believe it's with Lee as well, and Francesco.
Thank you so much, Ben and Simon. I'm here with our round 3 winner, Francesco Pardini. Firstly, Francesco, congratulations on that.
Thank you, thank you.